In 2014, two young girls lured their friend into the woods with a dark plan, one that would forever haunt the town of Waukesha, Wisconsin. What drove them? A mythical figure named Slender Man. Tonight, on Chilling Fireside Stories, we unravel the chilling real-life story behind the Slender Man stabbing. This isn't a legend or a fictional tale. It's a story of obsession, fear, and the consequences of losing sight of reality. Please be advised, this story involves sensitive topics that may not be suitable for all viewers. Also, if you'd like to see images related to this case, including the events, victims, and suspects, stay tuned until the end of the video. Before we get into the tragic events in Waukesha, it's crucial to understand Slender Man, a creature born from internet folklore. Slender Man first appeared in 2009 on a website forum called Something Awful, where users shared creepy, digitally manipulated images. Slender Man was depicted as a tall, faceless figure in a black suit, often lurking in forests and preying on children. He quickly gained traction on forums and sites like creepypasta, becoming a symbol of modern-day horror fiction. The figure of Slender Man struck a unique nerve in the digital age. Unlike traditional folklore, this story evolved quickly online, spread through forums, fan art, and stories that blurred the line between fiction and reality. Slender Man's storylines revolved around his influence on children and his dark demands, which sometimes involved harm. Though fictional for some, Slender Man's legend took on a life of its own. For two young girls, Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser, the character of Slender Man became more than just an internet story. Their growing obsession with the figure led them to believe that he was real, lurking nearby and watching. Their belief grew so strong that they felt they had to prove their loyalty to him in the most unimaginable way. Anissa was described as a reserved and somewhat socially isolated child. Her family and teachers noted that she often struggled with fitting in at school, and she found it challenging to make friends. Growing up, Anissa was particularly drawn to dark stories, mysteries, and online horror content. When she discovered the legend of Slender Man on the website creepypasta, it captivated her imagination. To her, the figure of Slender Man embodied a sense of mystery and otherworldly intrigue that she rarely experienced in her real life. Anissa's immersion in horror and online lore became a major aspect of her life, and she found someone to share this interest with in Morgan Geyser. Despite her usual reluctance to connect with others, Anissa felt an immediate bond with Morgan, with whom she could discuss their shared fascination with the paranormal and horror. Morgan Geyser's childhood was also marked by an unusual sensitivity and strong imagination. Morgan's family described her as a child who enjoyed fantasy worlds and was often lost in her own creative mind. However, she also displayed early signs of mental health struggles. At a young age, Morgan began experiencing auditory hallucinations, which went undiagnosed at the time but would later be identified as symptoms of early-onset schizophrenia. Morgan's fascination with horror escalated once she met Anissa, who introduced her to the Slender Man legend. She started to genuinely believe that Slender Man was not only real but also directly involved in her life. As Anissa and Morgan's bond grew, so did their shared obsession with Slender Man. They became so immersed in this fantasy that they saw the fictional character as a powerful force requiring their allegiance. In Morgan's case, her undiagnosed schizophrenia intensified her fears and delusions, creating a dangerous combination when mixed with Anissa's eagerness to prove her belief in Slender Man. Morgan Geyser, Anissa Weier, and Payton Leutner were 12-year-old classmates in 2014, living in the town of Waukesha, Wisconsin. Payton, who often went by Bella, was friendly, bubbly, and eager to befriend Morgan, who sometimes struggled socially. The two grew close, with Payton often being a supportive friend to Morgan, who dealt with loneliness and intense imagination. When Morgan introduced Anissa to Payton, they formed a trio, spending time together at school and outside. However, Anissa and Morgan's connection was different. Both girls shared an interest in the eerie and macabre, spending hours reading about Slender Man and other dark stories on creepypasta. Anissa, in particular, introduced Morgan to the stories, and they became consumed by the idea that Slender Man was real. Anissa and Morgan's shared obsession began to drive a wedge between the trio, with Bella unaware of the intensity of the fixation the other two girls had developed. As time passed, Morgan and Anissa's belief in Slender Man became all-consuming. They began to think that they were in danger if they didn't fulfill Slender Man's demands. Their obsession reached a disturbing peak when they decided to offer a sacrifice to prove their loyalty and protect their families. Tragically, they chose their own friend, Payton, as that sacrifice. On May 31, 2014, Morgan, Anissa, and Payton had a sleepover at Morgan's house, just like any other middle school gathering. The girls played games, laughed, and in the morning, decided to go to a nearby park for a game of hide-and-seek. By this point, Morgan and Anissa had been planning for months to harm Payton, believing that the attack would serve as a sacrifice to Slender Man, who they thought would allow them to join him as his proxies and keep their families safe. As the girls entered a secluded part of the woods in David's Park, Morgan and Anissa led Payton deeper into the forested area under the guise of finding a good spot to play. There, Morgan suddenly attacked Payton, stabbing her 19 times as Anissa encouraged her, allegedly too afraid to carry out the attack herself. Payton suffered severe injuries, including stab wounds to her chest, abdomen, arms, and legs. Her diaphragm and major organs were punctured, putting her at grave risk. Miraculously, after her attackers fled, Payton managed to crawl out of the woods to a nearby path where a passing cyclist found her and called for help. Despite the severity of her injuries, she was rushed to the hospital and survived, later recounting the horrifying experience. Her strength and resilience amazed everyone as she survived the attack against all odds. This tragic event marked the beginning of a long, intense investigation and a high-profile legal case that highlighted the dark side of internet folklore. After the attack, Anissa and Morgan were quickly located and taken into custody. During their interrogation, both girls admitted to planning the attack. Morgan claimed she had conversations with Slender Man and believed he would harm her family if she didn't go through with the plan. Anissa was less certain of Slender Man's reality but still supported the plot, out of fear and a desire to belong to something greater. During questioning, investigators were stunned by how convinced the girls were of Slender Man's demands. Morgan, especially, exhibited symptoms that suggested she was detached from reality, possibly suffering from undiagnosed mental health issues. Psychologists would later diagnose her with early-onset schizophrenia, adding another tragic dimension to an already devastating story. The arrest and subsequent confession left the community reeling, and the case quickly became a national sensation. Parents, teachers, and psychologists debated the impact of internet culture and its role in shaping young minds. In a society that increasingly blurs the line between reality and fiction, this case became a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked beliefs and online influences. Given the ages of the perpetrators, the case raised serious questions about mental health and juvenile justice. Both girls were charged as adults, a decision that sparked heated debates. Morgan's defense team argued that her mental health conditions warranted a psychiatric facility, while Anissa's attorneys focused on her fear and susceptibility to influence. The public was divided. Many demanded justice for Payton, while others sympathized with the psychological factors that contributed to the crime. Both girls were charged with attempted first-degree homicide. In 2017, Anissa Weier pleaded guilty to second-degree attempted homicide and was found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. She was sentenced to 25 years in a mental health institution. Morgan Geyser pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree intentional homicide and was also found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. She was sentenced to 40 years in a mental health institution. In 2023, Anissa Weier was granted early release from the mental health institution after serving 7 years. She is now under supervision until she turns 37. Morgan Geyser remains in the mental health institution and is seeking release. Payton Leutner has made a remarkable recovery after the horrific attack. She has shown incredible resilience and strength. In 2019, she even spoke publicly about the incident, revealing that she found a positive purpose in the trauma she endured. She is now pursuing a career in medicine, inspired by her own experience. This tragic case became a wake-up call about the importance of mental health resources for young people and the need for awareness about the effects of digital influences on impressionable minds. For Payton, her family, and the community, the pain of the event would linger, yet her survival became a symbol of strength and resilience. Thank you for joining me for this chilling tale on Chilling Fireside Stories. The Slender Man stabbing is a disturbing reminder of the power of belief and the influence of internet culture. Please remember, if you or someone you know is struggling, support and mental health resources are available. You can find the links in the description. These resources aim to provide help for both victims and perpetrators, especially when mental health issues are involved. Thank you for joining me for this chilling tale on Chilling Fireside Stories. For more in-depth stories like this one, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Your support helps us bring these stories to light. Stay curious, stay warm, and see you on the next one.